Hi, my name's Phil. I'm one of the ministers here at Beeches Baptist Church. Thanks for watching. Today is Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. This video will be a message of hope made possible because Jesus is alive. These are certainly strange and uncertain times that we are living in. Many of us are confined to our homes, which means our social interaction has been greatly affected. Although the coronavirus pandemic means that we're not able to meet together as church as we normally do at the moment, the power and the truth of the message that we share has not changed. There is hope even in the midst of tragedy and crisis because Jesus is alive. He has risen. He has risen indeed. One of the things that this global pandemic has made us acutely aware of is the fragility of life. As human beings, we all face the same ominous and scary enemy, death. Life is so very fragile. C.S. Lewis spoke of this reality in a sermon that he preached at Oxford University in 1939, just after the outbreak of World War II. He said this: "I think it important to try to see the present calamity in a true perspective. The war creates no absolutely new situation. It simply aggravates the permanent human situation so that we can no longer ignore it. Human life has always been lived on the edge of a precipice." We could say the same about the coronavirus situation we face at the moment. It's made us very aware that life is so fragile. The good news of the Easter story is that there is hope because Jesus is alive. He has risen. He has conquered death. Through faith in his death and resurrection, we can know new life. We can be forgiven. We can know life for all eternity. Death is no longer the end. In John's Gospel, chapter 20, we read of the very first Easter morning. One of Jesus' closest followers, Mary Magdalene, had gone to Jesus' tomb to embalm his body with some of the other women. Just a few days earlier, she had watched him die an agonizing and terrible death on the cross as he was crucified. So filled with grief and despair, crushed hopes and much pain, Mary arrived at Jesus' tomb. Maybe you know what it is to grieve, to despair, to have your hopes crushed, to be in unbearable pain. Come with Mary to the tomb of Jesus. When Mary arrived at the tomb, she didn't find things as she was expecting. The stone had been rolled away and there was no sign of Jesus' body. Imagine the horror and the pain that Mary must have felt at that moment. She ran to find Simon, Peter and John. "They've taken the Lord out of the tomb and we don't know where they have put him." Peter and John then ran to the tomb to find out for themselves. Mary arrived back at the tomb a while later. Consider how she would have been feeling at that moment. Heartbroken, filled with grief, not able to say goodbye properly to the one that she loved so much, the one upon whom she'd pinned all her hopes, the one that she thought was going to save her people and the whole world, the Messiah, the chosen one. Maybe we can stand with Mary as she weeps outside that tomb. Maybe we bring our own grief and pain and sadness and hurt. Or maybe we bring with us someone who we know at this time is suffering a great deal, who is grieving, who is in pain, who has questions or doubts. We stand with Mary and weep. She bends down to look inside the tomb and is totally shocked to see two angels sitting there where Jesus' body had lay. "Why are you crying?" they asked her. Perhaps this is an invitation for us also. We can speak out our pain and grief, our fear, our questions, our doubts, our troubles. Here at the empty tomb, all the world's questions and concerns can be given voice. Join with Mary as she expresses her reality. "They have taken my Lord and I don't know where they have put him." It's all too much for Mary. She turns around, perhaps to run away, or maybe because she senses someone behind him. And there he is. Jesus stood right behind her. But she doesn't recognise him. Whether through the tears or the grief or, well, you wouldn't recognise him, would you? The last person she was expecting to see, alive and well and standing behind her, is Jesus. He must be the gardener, she concludes. "Why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" he asks. "Sir, if you have taken him, show me where you have put him, and I will go and get him." Hear the pain and desperation in her voice. And then for Mary, the moment of great transformation. She hears her master's voice. He says her name as only he can. Mary. Let Jesus call your name as he calls to Mary. Let him call the names of the people that you have brought with you to the tomb. Teacher, she replies. Is it really him? But how can this be? Am I hallucinating? Is it a dream? She reaches out to touch him, but Jesus pulls back. Don't hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God. What an incredible scene. Mary is restored, transformed. Nothing will ever be the same for her again. Her hope is restored. And it's not just Mary. The whole of history has changed forever. The whole cosmos will never be the same again because Jesus has risen. He is alive. There is hope. Death is not the end. Jesus has taken our place on the cross. He has died our death. He's put our sins on his shoulders. And through his death, he has opened up the way for us to follow. Death is no longer the end. It has been defeated. There is hope because Jesus is alive. Join Mary in the excitement, the wonder, the sheer joy of the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. And it's not over yet. Jesus instructs Mary to go and tell the others. What an amazing mission to be given. What a huge privilege. To go and tell those who are grieving, who are sad, just as Mary had been moments earlier, that everything has changed. Jesus is alive. There is good news. There is hope. This is actually one of the many pieces of evidence that gives authenticity to the truth of Jesus' resurrection. You see, if you were going to make it up, if you were going to fabricate this story, there's no way in that culture at that time that you would have chosen a woman as the very first witness to see Jesus alive and to carry the message to everyone else. Mary's contemporaries did not believe that a woman's testimony was reliable. It held little to no weight in a court of law and in society in general, especially when it came to something like this. But Mary is the one who is chosen by Jesus. She must go and tell the others, I have seen the Lord, and this is what he said. And as we continue to travel with Mary through this incredible story, just as her tears and loss have become our tears and loss, just as her joy and hope have become our joy and hope, in the same way, so her mission becomes our mission. Just as she is to go and tell the others, we are called also to go and tell others the good news that Jesus is alive. So even in the midst of these strange and difficult times, we can have hope because Jesus has risen. He has risen indeed. We can be people of hope. Even though our lives here on earth are fragile, we know that this life is not all there is. There is a life to come, and we can live in the reality of that hope here and now and for all eternity. Jesus is risen. He is risen indeed.